Well, there's new fallout from the release of an American CIA contractor who'd been jailed in Pakistan for killing 2 men there. And it could have a big impact on America's ability to fight al-Qaeda. Pakistan's government reportedly is asking the U.S. now not only to reduce the number of agents operating in that country, but to end altogether those drone airstrikes that target militant groups. It's one of America's strongest weapons, the drone program is, as Taliban and al-Qaeda members move freely across the border with Afghanistan. So let's talk about it with Mike Baker, a former CIA covert operations officer. What are the Pakistanis so upset about here, Mike? Is it just the case of that agent who was released?
No, not at all. I mean, it would be a severe oversimplification to say that, the latest discord is a result of the contractor and what happened as a result of that. But yeah, this is probably our most complex and critical foreign relationship. And what we're looking at right now, there's a little bit of hysteria and some over-dramatization of the nature of this relationship right now. Some Pakistani officials have made some comments talking about shutting down the drone program. At the end of the day, there's some political posturing that's going on the part of, in particular, the head of the Pakistani military, General Kayani, and also the head of the ISI, the Pakistani Intel Service, Lieutenant General Pasha. But, the relationship has always been problematic. There's no doubt about that. And overlying all of this is the fact that, at the end of the day, our national interests are not their national interests and never have been. And yet, we have a shared critical interest. It's just the way that we view that on both sides.
There's a picture of General Ashfaq Kayani, the man sort of at the top of the screen, and General Ahmed Pasha. He is the head of the chief spy agency, the ISDI. You say that their national interests are not necessarily ours. You point out that they don't particularly like having another nation's spy agency, namely our CIA, operating in their country. And they don't get involved these days. We don't apparently ask them when we're going to target when we're going to launch one of these drone strikes and pick the target. They don't like that.
Well, exactly, and no surprise there. But General Kayani is a very smart individual. He's probably the most capable official there in Pakistan at this point, and he's not without presidential ambitions. So it's definitely in his interest to be seen as a very strong nationalist, ordering the U.S. around, protecting Pakistani interests. At the end of the day, though, Kayani and the ISI as well, the Intel Service, they understand that the drone program is the most effective weapon that we have and they have in trying to keep the Taliban and then like-minded organizations like Lashkar and some others in check in the frontier provinces. The problem is that over the years, the Pakistanis have found it both in their interests to work just enough with the Americans to keep them, the extremists, from threatening national interests there in Pakistan, but they've also found it in their interest to work with the extremists. That plays well to the population.
And quickly,
so that's a very delicate dance.
There was an administration report to Congress about all of this that you said they took great offense at.
Right. There's a regular assessment that the White House provides to Congress on various national security interests. In the most recent one, buried deep in that report, was some very critical comments about the Pakistani military's ability and their ineffectiveness to take down the Taliban on the Pakistani side. Now, that didn't get much press play here in the U.S. because it was buried deep in this report and other events around the world, but you can count on the fact that that stung Kayani and others there very strongly. Again, over all of this, the biggest problem we've got is that we can't get the Taliban under control in Afghanistan. We're not going to defeat them, but we can't degrade them sufficiently to get them to the negotiating table in a serious way without clearing up the Pakistani side. It just isn't going to happen. So we need their cooperation, but at the same time, we have to understand, the Pakistanis are playing to their own personal interests.
As you point out, a very difficult dance. Mike Baker, formerly with the CIA. Mike, thank you.